Hey guys, so today I actually want to talk about something that's pretty fun and a little bit interesting. So just a little while back, last week we had the butterfly knife and the recon collection. During this event, I was in a call with Preeti and Sean where I was talking to them about this collection as well as the butterfly knife. I even got this amazing video up right here. I recommend you guys check it out about the next butterfly knife and a bunch of other questions like the skin randomizer coming to Valorant. I was able to discuss with Sean and Preeti about other things and they were able to answer them, and I was able to make a video about them. So make sure to check that one out. But on top of that, there's a little bit of extra information I got while talking about the recon collection that is so crucial that it, to be in my opinion, warranted an entire video on its own. It really is what Valorant could have been, because some point in the development of Valorant, a major feature was actually implemented and was planned to be in the game that would have changed the course of the gameplay and the style of the game itself. So I am going to literally answer the question, or tell you the story of what Valorant could have been. Now, unfortunately, I do write featuring the Riot Devs. This is more so featuring their information because I was not allowed to share with you guys the audio clips. I can't actually show you the developers telling me this in call. I did record it thinking I would be able to, but then they said, no, I can only quote them and share the information, but not show you the direct audio clips. And you might be wondering, is this some sort of top secret information? And no, unlike my other video covering some stuff that actually are exclusive and inside information that I can share, this one isn't. There is a whole public post back in 2020 when Valorant was still newly released, explaining how they built the arsenal of Valorant. And people, I guess, just skimmed over it. They didn't really look into this. I guess no one made a video, and I would love to make a video about it, and that's where I am here today. So yeah, if you want, you can check out the article down below. But based off of this and my talk with Riot, that's basically my talking points here. So while talking about the new bundle, one of the biggest selling points, besides the butterfly knife, is the fact you have these random attachments that change when you buy and sell the gun, or every time you buy the gun. Could be a flashlight or a red dot sight, a foregrip or a diagonal grip. You got a ton of attachments that cycle through, and this idea has been in the work for quite some time now. But where does it originate from? Was it just to give us the power illusion like you have in COD? Well, yes, that's a big one, but a huge thing is that once upon a time, Valorant had planned for attachments to be a base gameplay feature where we would actually attach scopes, flashlights, red dot sights to our guns. That was actually something that was planned for Valorant, and that is actually why all the guns have these little rails, because in the design portion, when they were literally already drawing and designing the game, they had intended for these things to be in the game. So yeah, your Ghost, for example, could have a red dot sight, and it would also have an aim down sight, since Sean told me every gun was planned to have an aim down sight. So the Sheriff, the Ghost, they'd all have these little iron sights, and then we could add to them. So then the attachments made a little more sense, because if everything had an iron sight, then what would happen is that a red dot sight would give you, let's say, higher hipfire accuracy. That was actually something planned. I mean, could you imagine decking out your operator so it would hipfire like a Marshall? Like, just take that in. These are the design choices that Valorant was going for. I guess a big thing, and I wish I talked to them a little bit more about this in particular, since now I have more questions looking back, but I think a big thing is that this game, as we know, is mainly based off of CSGO, at least not based off of, inspiration is off of CSGO. It is a CSGO-esque game. However, it takes a little bit of creativity from, let's say, Overwatch or things like that, where you have abilities. On top of that, though, I think the third hybrid was gonna be something like Rainbow Six Siege. Like, I think on the drawing board, they're like, what if we have abilities from Overwatch, attachments and customization from Rainbow Six Siege, but then the gameplay of CSGO. And honestly, that doesn't sound too bad, and you might be wondering, why was this system in general scrapped? And actually, thanks to the article I was talking about earlier, published by Riot themselves, they kind of explain it. They said during internal testing, what would end up happening is that most guns sort of had this meta attachment, or a certain attachment that was the no-brainer, the one that would fit straight in, and then people would just end up not changing it. So they felt the whole point of the attachment system wasn't clicking quite right, and I guess they couldn't get it to feel fresh or unique enough so that each attachment would serve a different purpose, and instead people would run kind of this meta attachment right off of the bat and leave it just like that. Another big thing is something like the Vandal versus Phantom. What makes these different is that the Phantom has the silencer, a little bit more bullets, better recoil, and these two would end up being muddled if you could just throw the silencer on the Vandal or add an extra mag on the Vandal and then add a grip that reduces recoil control. You know what I mean? Then the only difference would just be like the fire rate, right, between the two, and maybe just the damage, which would end up muddling the differences, since right now the differences are already big enough where we feel the gun difference, but both are meta. And then being able to change attachments would just, it'd make things too cloudy between certain guns. And I kind of understand their reasoning here. While I think it would have been a lot of fun, I think the simplistic aspect of the route they took just makes a lot of sense. Though digging more into this, I was actually able to find a Reddit post with a specter that didn't have a silencer or the scope on it, which made me laugh because this was based off of data mining before the game came out, just to show that attachments had not only been in the game and designed for the game, but they were an implemented system. They made it far into the development, which is mind-blowing. Man, now I really wish I asked more questions like, how many attachments were made? What were the stats like? What were all the different adjustments? Like, Spectre would start with nothing, right? Then you'd have to add a scope and a silencer. Like, could you add a silencer to your sheriff? Like, that's crazy. That's absolutely mind-blowing. It would have made some stuff so much more fun. Like, imagine the bulldog that's largely irrelevant. If you throw like a 3x scope on that thing, it wouldn't be that irrelevant. That would be pretty sick, especially on something like Breeze. So it makes me wonder how radically different the game would have been. What guns that no one touches would have been more useful. I think it would have been really cool. I kind of wish it was in the game, though. Of course, there's this domino effect. Wishing for more complexity means a lot more complex development, meaning a lot more complex balance. And if there's one game I will praise for the balance, it's Valorant. Sure, they aren't perfect, but what game really can be? But their balance team and the way they adjust, stay on top of things, and they consistently change is pretty amazing. They're not perfect, but they are willing to radically change the game like they did with the eco and ability system just to keep us happy, engaged, and, invested in the game. Now, I wish I could theorize a little bit more about what the attachments would look like, but I don't think it would be that hard. I'm pretty sure something like a sheriff could have some sort of scope, or your stinger could have a red dot sight, so the running gun would be even more prominent. Balancing would have been completely different, and gun metas would have shifted drastically. Eco rounds would have been crazier. I mean, the Bucky had the reign of terror for quite some time. Imagine if Quirky got to throw a red dot sight on it as well, or a scope. That would have been kind of insane, but it's fun to theorize about these things, right? It's fun to imagine what the game could have looked like. Now, I wish I was some professional editor. I only know so much, or I had some 3D design in my pocket here so I could actually visually think of these things. Like, how would it have actually looked like? And the guns are even semi-futuristic. I mean, could you imagine how they would have had to design skins? Like, could you imagine all the skins in the game, but then they have to compromise for what attachments get put in? That would have been insane. It's so fun to think about these things. But that kind of sums up everything I wanted to just talk about. This is just more of an open discussion. I don't know if this video is going to do well at all because I just had some information. I just wanted to talk, visualize, imagine, have fun. Let me know what you think about everything in the comments down below. Do you wish attachments were in the game? I mean, I would love to hear your opinion. I don't think everyone knew this information, even if it was public. So, worth making a video. Fun discussion. Hope you enjoyed. Hit that like button. Consider subscribing. Thank you for watching. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.